Hello, everyone. I am Brady Briggs here for another episode of the Combat Logic. Joining me back is my co-host Tyler Avery. How are you, Tyler? It's nice to have you
How's
on.
it going today, man?
Good, buddy. So we're going to be talking about the aftermath of UFC 266. It was pretty big fights went down. Now, starting out on the early prelims, Jonathan Pierce had a dominant win over Omar Morales. I'm sorry. Just want to give him a shout out because he deserves it. Matt Selmsberger had another really quick KO too. So I want to go over something about Matt really quick here. He's 3-1 in the UFC, and two of those wins are KOs, one in 15 seconds, one in 16 seconds. Those are his last two wins in the UFC. So that's pretty
Yeah,
good.
he's very explosive for
Yeah,
sure.
man. He's very powerful too. What about Nick Maximov and Cody Bundridge? Did you watch this fight?
I was only able to get like glimpses and highlights of it. I didn't see much of it.
Okay, yeah, this was a really, really good fight. See, Nick Maximov, I'm pretty sure he was only like 1-0 or something coming into this fight. And Cody Bundridge actually, he wasn't, that was way off. He was 6-0. He's a Diaz prospect though. He comes out of the scrap pack and he was, getting pieced up early on. Cody was looking really good with his striking, and then Nick and his wrestling got it done. Like, he makes really, really good choices for someone who doesn't even have 10 fights yet. I was very impressed with him. Jalen Turner and Euros Medish. This was a great fight. Are you the one I was talking about this with?
I don't think so. I'm not. It might have been someone from the group.
Okay, yeah. Euros Medish is 7-0 with 5 knockouts, or he might have more than that. He's got 5 first-round knockouts. And Jalen Turner has had a bit of a rough start early on. He came to the UFC at 7-3, got knocked out by Vicente Luque, about a 7-4. He then got a knockout win, and then he lost his next fight. He fell to 8-5. Since then, he's gotten 3 finishes in a row. And
for some reason, he still has like a little bit of like a name people know, and he still kind of has a little bit of a hype behind him, even though he has kind of had a back and forth start.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's 6'3" with a 77-inch reach. He's still only 26 years old, too. That's crazy. I thought he was like 28. Yeah, man, he's got all the room in the world to grow. He's a really dangerous striker. Anderson Silva's like his idol, so
right.
Makes sense. The first fight on the main card, Talia Santos beat Roxanne Modafferi. Did you catch this one?
Yes. I was pretty excited to see this fight because Roxanne kind of has come from the underground in the middle pack kind of, and has kind of fought her way, up towards title contender challenger, you know what I mean? So I was excited to see how she was going to do against, she's kind of not much of an athletic fighter, so I wanted to see how she would do against someone who seemed strong, powerful, athletic.
Right.
And I feel like it was kind of a plus on both of the fighters, really. Like, they both showed a little bit of skills that were impressive to me. Roxanne never stops. Her cardio is pretty good. She's mentally really tough. She's clear. She has a very clear head through adversity, and she has a lot of experience. So she's been there, done that, and she like, you can't count her out in a fight she's losing.
Right.
And she showed her skills against Talia, but or Tala, or I don't know how to pronounce it.
Talia.
But yeah, she got edged in that. So it was a good fight though. I was hoping Roxanne was gonna win, but
yeah, I think a lot of people were, honestly.
Definitely a plus for both fighters in that fight. I liked what I saw from both of them.
Yeah, well, the thing is with Santos, she made her UFC debut with a 15-0 record. She lost her debut via split decision. Since then, she's won her last 3. Like, she improved to 18-1 over the weekend. And her 3 wins in the UFC are now Roxanne, Jillian Robertson, who's a really good fighter, minus, not having a great record, but she's a really good fighter, and Molly McCann, who had a really great performance a couple weeks ago.
And Roxanne has that that ability to make fights tough fights that maybe don't look like they would be on paper. She takes people that are on tears and just dismantling chicks, and
she's
she
very
makes it
gritty.
awkward.
Very gritty.
Yeah, she likes to make it awkward, and and she kind of frustrates people that have less experience than her because she doesn't go away. She's almost like a friendly Diaz brother,
Yeah.
kind of. She just keeps coming forward.
I mean, we almost got that with Nick, a friendly Diaz brother this time around, but
Yeah,
we'll get to that.
he was really humble.
How about Chris Dawkins, man? See, I caught like I don't know why because I tuned in at the Matt Semelsberger fight, but for some reason I didn't catch all of this fight. I saw the second round of it, or the end of the first round and the second round, and Dawkins was just fucking him up the whole time. Like, dude, he's got a future in the sport. Like, Chris Dawkins is a really good fighter.
Absolutely. I'm super excited about Chris Dawkins. Uh, to be honest, there's something about him that I could just look in his eyes and I can see he's like very hungry. Like I know
Yeah,
he just seems like the guy that is definitely working. I mean, I don't know for a fact, but he seems like the guy who's working the hardest in the gym. He's like a humble, hardworking guy who's always getting better. I mean, he's always getting better every time he gets in there, so he's got to be working hard. Uh, and I feel like physically he looks a little bit better every time he goes in there because he looks like a guy that's lost a lot of weight
uh-huh.
in the past, and he just seems to look a little bit more lean every time. And
Yeah,
that's a
I
good
agree.
sign for a heavyweight.
He does look a little bit more lean every time. He definitely does have the build of someone who was heavier in a past life.
I'm
But
excited to see who he fights next and how he handles that because
me
we, we've
too.
we've mostly seen him with his heavy hands and he's got tight
Mhm.
boxing kind of.
Yeah,
For
he's
a
very
heavyweight, he's
quick
got
too.
pretty tight hooks and stuff. But
Hmm.
I bet you he probably has a fairly decent ground game too. He's a pretty stocky guy.
Yeah,
He
he's actually a
seems
black belt in
strong.
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
I bet you he's deceptively strong as well.
Yeah,
So
Kyle
like
Dawkins, his brother is also a really good grappler. Um,
yeah.
but dude, Chris made his UFC debut with an 8-3 record. He lost the fight before that. Like he's lost really recently, like within the last couple of years. And yeah, he's now 4-0 in the UFC with 4 knockouts. This is the
Yeah.
only one that's gone past the first round too.
I
Actually,
feel
looking
like he's
at it.
gonna be a guy that's gonna be hard to stop.
Yeah,
He's gonna be
man.
one of those guys that you're gonna have to put away. Uh, Almost like Roxanne, he's gonna be in your face throwing punches, and
Yep.
he seems to throw dangerous punches.
Yeah, every time, man. They're so quick. They're so crisp. Like
Yeah, his
it's,
boxing is
it's fun
nice.
to watch. I love it.
Yeah, I'm a fan.
How about Dan Hooker and Nasrat Haqparast? This was a pretty good fight. No, for those of y'all that don't know, I'm sure you do if you pay attention to the sport at all, because it was all over the media. Both of these guys had a real hard time getting to Las Vegas. Nasrat, I think he lives in Germany, and Dan Hooker obviously is from New Zealand. They both got there the day of the weigh-ins and then put on a performance like they did. Um, Something I want to say about it quick. Dan Hooker's striking looked great, but so did Nazaret's. His
Yeah.
counters were looking really good, but we got to see Dan Hooker's grappling in this fight, which is, what set him apart from
Mhm.
Nazaret, which I get from his experience because he's not a grappler, but he showed he has it. I can't really remember the last time we seen him offensively grapple. Can you?
No, not really. I feel like most of the time he's a lot more comfortable staying on the feet, and
Yeah.
most of the guys in the division, if you look at it like on paper or side by side comparison, you would think that Hooker wouldn't want to initiate grappling with them, but we learned in this fight that that's not necessarily the case, and that he has a little bit of top control, some ground skills.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, for sure. It was good to
but
see, man.
Also, I wanted to say about I'm not sure how to pronounce his name really, Nasrat,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yep.
Uh, in this loss, it was also one of those ones where I feel like it was um he gained some real or not real estate, but he got some
He's learned something from it. He's gonna grow from it
yeah, and
for
also like
sure.
I feel like it doesn't detract. It's still a plus for him. He took a huge step up in competition by leaps and bounds
A
when he took on
real
Dan
big
Hooker.
step up. I'm surprised
It
Dan Hooker took this fight, honestly.
Yeah, I think Dan Hooker really was looking to get some confidence back because I
Yeah.
heard him talking about not having a ton of confidence and trying to, get his head back after the losses because he said he doesn't deal with losses all too well
Mhm.
all the time. So maybe he was trying to, just take a fight, not pick and choose and just focus on winning the fight. And he did that. But also I feel like it was definitely a plus for Nasrat as well. He did way
Yeah.
better than I thought he was going to do. I thought it was going to be a no offense to either fighter, but a boring Dan Hooker poking at him with kicks. Nasrat's tough. I didn't think he was really going to get hurt that bad at all,
Very tough.
but I thought that he was going to get poked with kicks and maybe kept on the outside. But I was surprised by Nasrat a lot, and I also was happy to see Dan Hooker bounce back from his losses and actually look like himself.
Me too. I think that's what I'm happiest about, is to see Dan Hooker bounce back from losses. But that's what was exciting about this fight. They both come from kickboxing backgrounds. And honestly, Nasrat's quite a prodigy himself. He's only 26 years old. He's got a big future in the sport. But I kind of want to see a fight between two other guys that come from kickboxing backgrounds. Dan Hooker and the only guy to ever knock Nasrat out, Drew Dober. I think Dan Hooker and Drew Dober would be a really good fight, even though I don't think Drew is ranked either. That'd be another fight for
Drew
him.
Dober, I'm a fan of too. He's pretty well rounded. He's very explosive, powerful guy.
Very powerful.
I feel like similar to Marlon Moraes, he has we're going to talk about that later, but I feel like sometimes he's inconsistent and sometimes he might gas or fade in and out in the fight in some circumstances, but he has a really good first round usually, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of his.
Yeah, for sure. Me too. Yeah, the very next one, Marlon Moraes and Merab Dvalishvili. Let's talk about this one a little bit. What's your thoughts on this one?
That was
This
a
was
wild
great
fight, man.
Marlon hurt Merab shit 2 or 3 times in that first round. He almost got him out of there, like, each time too. He's landing such vicious combinations, like boxing combinations. And he's landing some nice leg kicks, some nice kicks from the outside. But dude, those punches were so tight and so hard, a lot like Chris Dawkis's. And they hurt Merab bad, but he just would not go down. And kind of like Henry Cejudo, he weathered the storm and ended up pounding him out only a round earlier.
Yeah, man. Something about Merab. He's almost seems like it's impossible to stop him. Like I feel like it's probably really, really hard to submit him. He's just tough and strong and good wrestler. So his positioning is good. But he's also like he's got a good chin. Like you can't just
He really does.
you can't unload the
Holy
tank
shit.
on him, and maybe in a way that was a game plan for Merab if he thinks that Marlon's gonna unload just to weather the storm, because we all know that's how you beat Marlon is let him know that you're still there after he throws his most powerful shots.
It's great, and he doesn't get tired, and his wrestling is better than just about anybody's in the division. Merab has so many records. I think I went over it last time. Like, he may have, I don't know. He didn't go the distance this time, so maybe he didn't set any records. But something I want to get into is Marlon Moraes, since avenging his loss to Rafael Assunção, he has gone 1-4. All 4 losses by knockout. The one win was by split decision, a fight most people thought he lost. And then Merab has won 7 straight, I think.
Yeah,
he's won 7 straight. He made his UFC debut with a 7-2 record. He was the Ring of Combat champion. He lost a split decision to Frankie Saenz that everybody that watched that fight thought he won, but he definitely won that fight. He was controversially finished by Ricky Simone after, all pointing him throughout that fight. Right. Since then, he won 6 straight, with the most recent over Cody Stamann, and now he got his first finish inside the UFC. So that was really good to see.
Yeah, we're starting to see the evolution of his game a little bit, and starting to see he's already technically sound and really good technically, and he's already physically a specimen. Now I feel like he's going to start putting it together and really starting to finish these guys. I feel like he might be the best guy out of his team.
Yeah, man, he might be. Like, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, we'll see. Time will tell.
I'm impressed with him.
Yeah, me too. Like, it's so crazy, like, that he fell to 7-4. Like, that just shows you records do not mean shit.
Yeah, he probably fought really tough competition. I'm not 100% sure. but he seems like the type of guy that's not taking easy fights. He's trying to
Yeah.
prove something with every time he goes out there.
Hmm.
He improves almost every time he goes out there. He shows something new. Now he's starting to show a little more danger with his hands.
Hmm. Yeah, his boxing actually looked good, and he was willing to throw it on with Marlon, which I was actually kind of
Yeah,
surprised
he
about.
was he
That's
was
why
he
he
was
got
swinging
hurt.
with him, even though he got caught. I would have expected
Swinging
if
like
they
that, he
started
would,
trading that Marlon would catch him. He's the more experienced striker,
for
but
sure. He's a kickboxing champion, man.
Merab's toughness, and going back to the fundamentals and his cardio, his mental focus. He was never shaken after all that, and another guy you can't count out ever.
Yeah, literally ever. Although opening up the main card, Jessica Andrade ran right through Cynthia Calvillo. No, the first thing I think I noticed in this fight is Andrade has gotten really patient in
Yeah,
her attack over the years. Because, dude, she used to be like a female Vanderlei Silva or John Lineker and just swarm her opponents. Now
yeah,
she's really patient. She landed a lot of really hard leg kicks, and that opened up her hands, which, got her the finish. What do you think of this one?
yeah. She is a lot more patient. She's also a lot bigger when she's fighting at the right division that she's supposed to be
I
fighting in.
agree.
And yeah, her thighs and her core is just huge. She looks like a running back.
Yeah.
Uh, and she's fighting a division heavier. I feel like the girls dance around just a little bit less, and it might be better for her style. Uh, she can kind of pick her shots better with these girls. Plus, she's so big. They're intimidated right off the bat. You saw she won her fight. It wasn't in my opinion, it wasn't really a knockout. Uh, Calvillo just knew that she didn't have what it takes to win
Yeah.
that fight. And I feel like she felt the power, and she's like, this isn't something that I've ever felt or that I'm ready
Right.
for right now.
A lot of people that
She
fight,
hits like a man, she
she
hits like
does.
the a UFC fighter at her weight in the men's division would. It's intimidating. That explosive power is really rare in women's
Yeah.
MMA. So when you see girls getting knocked out stiff, that's something that a lot of these girls haven't experienced before. So that this division is really good for her, I think.
Yeah, it is. I thought she should have went to it as soon as they opened it because she started out her career at 35 in the UFC, which she couldn't help. And then actually it was the UFC's fault because they went from 35 to 15 and then like a few years later brought 25 around. She still didn't go to it initially. Like I felt she should have, but she was the champion at strawweight at that time.
Right.
How about Curtis Blades and Jairzinho Rosenstrike? I
Um,
think
Curtis Blades, I was curious to see how he was going to look.
me too,
He's an
very.
extremely confident fighter, and I feel like a lot of his success is based off of his confidence in there. Like he's very sure of himself. It's the way that he carries himself in the cage. He's right in the face of a better striker on paper. He'll get right in their
Yeah.
face and he'll be feigning and trying to strike with them. And he's a very confident fighter. So I was curious to see how he was going to return after, having
Vicious knockout like that.
having some
It was bad.
some hiccups in his career. When you're that confident and you take hiccups like that, or you have devastating losses like that, uh you don't really know how they're gonna return.
No, I
So I
mean,
was, excited to see him not being tentative, and he was,
mm,
Rosenstrike hits very hard, and he was right
he
in front of
does.
him the whole time, trying to be the better boxer. And Rosenstrike isn't just any striker, he's struck with everybody
No, yeah,
that
he's a
matters.
kickboxing champion.
He's tough, amazing kickboxer. So Curtis Blade's confidence has not been swayed.
Mhm.
I was impressed. I think Rosenstrike kind of has a lot to work on before he's gonna crack into the top guys right
Yeah, me
now.
too. I think we learned that on Saturday. And Jairzinho is actually 76-8 in pro kickboxing with 64 knockouts.
Right.
Just remarkable. And then Curtis Blades is a wrestling champion. That was the interesting contrast of styles here.
Yeah,
Jairzinho blitzed him a couple times, but he couldn't really do much because he was just boxing with him. And Curtis was able to kickbox because, he wasn't worried about being taken down like Jairzinho was, and rightfully so. I probably would have only boxed him too.
and for a wrestler, Curtis Blades bounces around really well on his feet. He moves really
He
well for
does
his size.
very,
Like
very well.
he almost has like the mix of a boxing and karate style. Like he's up on his toes, bouncing back and forth. And Rosenstrike likes for someone to come at him or to stand in front of him. And Curtis Blades was bouncing around, and Rosenstrike just never really got the chance to open up because I feel like he just didn't have any openings that were obvious enough. And I feel like
Yeah,
that's where he needs to go back to the drawing board. Maybe I don't know. It's hard to say.
you got
Throw
to
more
work on his
volume or
ground
something.
game, work on his get ups at least, and his
Yeah,
cardio.
absolutely. That's something that every striker should be working on all the time is
Hmm.
their get ups and their defensive wrestling. And but I feel like there's a lot more other things that he needs to work on too before he comes back versus contender.
Yeah, agreed, agreed. What do you think of Robbie Lawler versus Nick Diaz too?
I
I was
didn't know
very
what to
saddened
think of
by
it at
this.
first.
What?
Uh Robbie looked great. Nick Diaz looked good considering. Uh
Yeah, I'm good considering. Yeah.
he did asked to switch to middleweight a couple days before, and he did weigh in at the middleweight limit. Uh, Robbie Lawler weighed in 1 pound under.
Hmm.
He didn't look in that great of shape, but his technique and toughness, durability seemed to all still be there.
Yeah.
Honestly, he's never been a speed guy, so whatever he lost in speed isn't
Never.
super noticeable
Well,
because he's never been that
he,
guy.
yeah, he was still landing so many shots.
Yeah, it's his timing and fundamentals and his textbook boxing that makes him land shots, but he's never been the faster, more athletic, more agile fighter.
Yeah.
But so that I feel like was less of a factor. A lot of times fighters get older and their timing is really slow, and they just can't get off. But Diaz seemed to be able to just jump right back into what he always did because he never
Mhm.
relied on those things anyway. Uh, in a way, I feel like he was almost expecting to lose this fight. He said that he had it coming, is what
Yeah,
he
I know.
said.
He said that a few times. It
And
makes me
he also
wonder.
said before the fight happened, he said, especially if I get my ass whooped, I'm gonna want to come right back. So I'm hoping it's not like I couldn't imagine it's a money thing,
Right.
but if it's a money thing,
I
that's
really
that's
hope
too
not.
bad because he doesn't need to fight and lose. He has a legendary career. He doesn't need
Yeah,
to
dude, he
fight
should
for
not have to
for
do
money.
that.
I feel like we could see him set up with other big names that are coming to the twilights of their career,
Mhm.
and he could make it a really good fight
I
for
thought
any
they
of
should
them.
have gave him Dan Hardy, but
That would have been really,
they let
really
go of
good
him.
fight. I don't know who would have won that fight because we haven't seen much of Dan Hardy, but
Mhm.
I wouldn't have counted Diaz out at this point, knowing how he looked
Yeah.
against
Well,
Robbie Lawler.
Dan Hardy hasn't fought since 2012,
Yeah,
but he's a former Cage Warriors champ. Nick Diaz is a former Strikeforce champ. They both fought GSP for the belt. Like that would have been sick. But I think a lot of people were expecting the Robbie Lawler that showed up over the last few years to show up on Saturday, and that's not the Robbie Lawler that showed up at all. Like this fight really motivated. I mean, you could see
yeah, he
that.
didn't fight like he fought Kobe Covington.
No, he fought Nick Diaz like Nick fights everybody. Like he didn't give Nick any breathing room at all.
Mhm. He
And
wanted that one back.
yeah, people are saying Nick just quit, and it's like, dude, he got his nose shattered. First off, second off, like that wasn't the last round. He didn't only have a couple minutes left. Like he had 10 minutes left after that round was over.
I
Like,
also feel like his head wasn't really in it from the beginning, so he gave it his best shot, uh, and he was smart about it. He wants to come back and fight again. If he gets completely, knocked out stiff out there, the chances of him coming back and having any form of stock is pretty low. No one's
yeah,
gonna want to come and see a legend like him get
I would be
stitched again.
so sad if that happened.
So I feel like management and who he fights next is important. Uh,
Very.
I feel like they should be matching him up with money fights at this point. They were saying things like the winner of this, or not. They weren't even saying the winner of this. They're saying if Nick Diaz wins this fight, he gets thrown into the mix for title contention at welterweight.
That's
I think
kind of
that's crazy.
ridiculous.
He fought at middleweight. He couldn't make welterweight for this fight. We don't know if he can or will ever make welterweight. He needs to fight at welterweight, and I feel like we saw Nick Diaz is a lot better than we thought. A lot of people thought he was going to be, but we know that
Yeah,
he's not. He shouldn't be. We shouldn't be talking about him fighting people that are going to be fighting for the title. He should be
right.
fighting people who are going to give him, uh, cash grabs and exciting fights that people are going to tune in to watch. Uh,
Yeah.
this was a perfect example of that. Robbie is coming in the twilight of his career. They have, a little bit of bad blood, and Diaz had a win over him. It made sense.
Yeah.
There's probably a lot of other fights that do make sense that are like that if people took the time to look into it a little bit. So I feel like that's the next move for Diaz.
Honestly, even if it wasn't in the UFC, it would probably be a little bit better, but he's still signed to them. But going back to how he looked, I mean, I thought he did look a little slower than he did in his prime, but as we mentioned, his timing was still there. And yeah, I was surprised. But this is now the second man and second world champion that Robbie Lawler has folded and made quit while they were conscious after breaking their nose.
Yeah,
Rory McDonald obviously is the first.
he
That's
makes
remarkable.
guys realize that it's not time to be in there anymore.
Dude, he
There's
can
something
fucking
scary about
crack,
him. Must
man.
be being face to face in the cage with him that it's a little bit different.
He hits so hard. It's remarkable. He might be the hardest hitting welterweight ever. People think it's Tyron Woodley. It might. I'm Tyron knocked
Very
out
similar
Robbie, but that
power
that
when
don't
Tyron was in
mean.
his prime. Similar.
Yeah, I mean, I think because Tyron knocked out Robbie, that doesn't mean Tyron hits harder than Robbie. But he might. I don't really know.
Yeah, I don't think that
But he's
means he
definitely up there.
necessarily hits harder than Robbie either. They have a similar they have a similar punching style. Tyron a little bit more
One dimensional.
textbook, just a little bit more conventional, but similar like aggression, body build, explosiveness. I
Yeah,
would
definitely
I
some
would
more
put them very,
explosiveness.
very close to each other power wise.
How about Valentina Shevchenko and Lauren Murphy? This fight looked a lot like all of us expected it would. I mean, some of us didn't think that it would go that long, I bet. But what do you think of this one?
Lauren's tough. Uh,
Very
I
tough.
I thought it was gonna last that long. I didn't know if it was gonna go to decision. But Valentina was able to get it done late. Honestly, I don't know what much to say about this one. Uh,
Me either.
it was all Valentina doing Valentina stuff. Lauren Murphy got to showcase that she's tough girl to finish. She's gonna be in your face
Yeah.
regardless of how hard you hit her because she just was placed against the best of the best. So we know how she's gonna hold up against any of the other girls essentially.
Mhm.
Uh, other than that, Valentina doing Valentina stuff.
Yeah, man. Yeah, she looked really good. How about the main event and between Alexander Volkanovski and Brian Ortega? This was a lot better of a fight than I expected it to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm not a huge Alexander
This was
Volkanovski fan because I feel
crazy.
like sometimes he likes to play it safe and something about his
He
personality
does.
might not rub right with me. I'm also not a huge fan of Brian Ortega, but Brian Ortega is an exciting fighter though, at least in my.
Mhm.
But when these guys came together, the styles matched up perfectly, and it was absolutely fireworks. I think Volkanovski came out with something to prove a little bit. He wanted to be the champion. He didn't want to win a close one like he did with Max. He wanted to go out and shut people up and actually go out and win. And uh, Brian Ortega really put up a tough fight for someone who a lot of people thought didn't belong there or didn't deserve to.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Brian was only coming off one win.
Yeah.
I didn't really
On
think
paper,
he
he might have not deserved it, but
I didn't
we
think he
saw
should
that
do
his skills at least matched up in a
it. Yeah.
deserving way. He deserved it skill based. His career might not have made too much sense at the moment, but uh,
Yeah. I mean, I thought that Alexander's leg kicks were going to be more of a factor in this fight, honestly. I'm pretty sure that Ortega stunned him in the first round, right? And then he almost submitted him twice in the third.
Yeah, multiple times.
Dude, that the way he jumped into that mounted guillotine, I've never seen anything like it in my life. And the way he slapped on that triangle too, it's like he slaps on all of his other. It's just so quick and flawless. Like he's probably got the best offensive jiu-jitsu in the sport, other than like maybe Charles Oliveira. It's
Yeah,
insane on the
I
ground.
would. That's a good comparison. Him to Charles Oliveira.
Yeah, he's
Uh, Oliveira, I think, is a in in pound for pound in his division. I think he's a physically like. I don't think Brian Ortega is like extremely physically strong. Uh, in comparison
Oliveira's
to,
pretty strong.
I
Yeah.
think for his division at least, Brian Ortega versus Oliveira. Obviously, Brian Ortega's probably the stronger guy, but for the division, I feel like Oliveira is a little bit more physically strong, but I feel
Yeah.
like
He's
their
bigger
jiu-jitsu
too.
technique is very similar, for
Yeah, it
sure.
is. I mean, dude, Oliveira's a pretty big dude. Like, I don't know, most people realize, like, he's like 5'10" or 5'11". Like, he's actually got muscle. Like, cameras make it look like he doesn't, but he does. Um,
Right.
let's see. Anything else? Brian
Yeah,
Ortega
actually,
almost
there's
got
a couple
finished.
things I wanted to touch on.
What's
I
that?
wanted to like, reminisce a little bit that it wasn't really that long ago when people were looking at Brian Ortega as just the jiu-jitsu guy.
No, it wasn't. It was like less than 2 years
It's
ago.
weird, and now people he doesn't even always use his jiu-jitsu. Some fights he will just strike.
hmm He didn't use his
He now
jiu-jitsu
he's
at all in
known
his
to be
last
a
one.
tough striker with hard punches.
Yeah, I would like to see him like figure out how to implement his jiu-jitsu more. Like without people initiating a ground fight with him or without him like hurting someone with his strikes, like how can he get the fights to the mat more often?
I think
Because
you
if he can
just
do that, he'll beat
spelled out
everybody.
wrestling is what you just
Yeah.
spelled out. How do you get the fight to the ground without hurting him or without them initiating it? You got
Yeah.
to wrestle.
I mean, that's going to be hard for him to learn like that. He learned striking like that in 2 years. I mean, he's a really good striker now.
His body is built
But
for jujitsu, but
yeah, it is.
if he's a hard enough worker, he can improve. He's
Well,
already improved at striking so much.
he actually did take Alexander Dawn. He body lock tripped him. I forgot about that. I just remembered.
There's so
Yeah,
much packed into that fight. It's easy
dude, there
to
really
miss a couple
was,
things.
man. That was a really good one. Now, it's kind of sad because now out of two of Brian's last three fights, he's been beat down badly in title shots.
This one was a little closer.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, he had his moments in this fight.
Yeah,
What
like
would you like?
he made this one more of a dog fight.
What would you like to see next for him?
That's really tough because I didn't
Dude,
expect him to be getting the shot he has now. So
yeah,
it makes it harder to decide where he goes from here because do you base that off of where he should have been before or based off of that he just
yeah.
fought the champ?
I think it should be based off of where he should have been before. But I mean, look at Darren Till. They didn't do it with him.
Right. And one more thing that I think is noteworthy is Alexander Volkanovski usually likes to do. I mean, he can finish, but he likes to do like a safe style
Yeah.
where I feel like he doesn't always pour the pressure on or pull the trigger sometimes if he's
Mhm.
winning a fight. In this fight, he took tons of risks.
Yeah.
When Brian Ortega was locking up tight submissions, he even said himself that he was thinking he was going to lose multiple times and that they were so tight he thought he was going to go out. He said this himself, and he would still stay after he'd escape. He'd stay right in Ortega's face on the ground and just ground and pound. It's like
Yeah.
he's not, playing it safe. Playing it safe would have been backing up, letting him stand up and resetting,
Keep striking with
going
him.
back to point fighting. But he stayed right in his face and punished him for every time he tried to submit him. And I feel like that's noteworthy for Volkanovski because I didn't expect that from him.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely hope he gets more respect after this. I mean, I think it's his last fight with Max, man. Like, and it's not even his fault that he was gifted the decision in that fight. So it's kind of shitty, but it was for a belt, so everybody cares. But after Max boxes Yair up, we'll probably see that again, and we'll have
Yeah, he
another
definitely matched Ortega's meanness.
two match Ortega's meanness.
Volkanovski. I feel like he's not a mean
Oh
fighter
yeah,
all
for
the time. You know what I
sure.
mean? He's not mean in there. Ortega's gangster. He's mean.
hmm
He's like, thugging in there. Like he's mean mugging you in your face. Volkanovski was growling back. You know, he was the mean fighter back, and he fought mean back. He threw everything with conviction. It was a good fight.
Yeah, man, it really was. It was a great one. All right, next week we got Thiago Santos and Johnny Walker headlining the UFC Fight Night. We'll get on for a video about that here shortly. I appreciate you for coming on, Tyler. Let's talk to you again
Thank you for
soon.
having me.
Yes, sir. Have a good one, bud.
Take it easy.
You too.